better than many states. I've worked in Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, and Texas. And I will tell you, Texas does invest in higher education better than most states. But what I want you to pay attention to is that state appropriation is only 25% of our budget. And it's not the same for most institutions in Texas, even A&M. State appropriations is only about 21% of their budget. State appropriations, okay? The next largest chunk for us, well, we get federal appropriations, and most institutions don't get federal appropriations unless you're HBCU or 1890s. So we get a federal appropriation for that. It's about 7% of our budget. What I want to bring your attention to is this yellow section. That's our next largest percentage of the pie. It is tuition and fees. So foundationally, in public higher education, right? Now, one way that you can do that is to keep more of the students that you bring in school semester after semester. And I'm sharing this with you to let you know the insider piece of the business model of higher education, right? So even when it comes to state appropriation, tuition and fees is available at university. AUF is the that, and I'm gonna show you. So it's right. Investment. That's how we understand the 11. The torch in alumni giving is between Morgan and Howard, and they're somewhere between 15 and 18%. So there's an opportunity, right, for us to engage individuals. And engagement does not always mean dollars immediately. How you treat folk does matter. How you engage people does matter. But I share this with you because I'm all about what I can share, I'm gonna share. But it is with the idea that we come together as a community to talk about the strategies moving forward, okay? The last one, sales and services, that's a lot of things that we offer, but it also is ticket sales or athletic events. And there's some opportunity there as well. So I talked to you about PUF. The chancellor mentioned this, and I just wanted to highlight this real quickly. Oftentimes when we're talking about resources, sometimes we want to talk about the total dollar amount. But remember, we just talked about his initial year, he made that equal. We need to invest and recruit even more. We need to evaluate our processes, our technology, our infrastructure. Sometimes it's hard to do business with us as an institution. Sometimes we don't make it easy, right? And so we need to sharpen our skills in that area. We have limited financial resources. We just talked about overall our budget is $305 million. But we need more resources. We have done phenomenal with kind of the limited resources we have, and so we need more there. Campus safety continues to be an elevated place of concern for us. How to ensure that our very open campus is safe and secure for those who live, work, and play on our campus. And we talked about facilities and infrastructure. We have over 100 buildings at Prairie View. Our oldest building is 1914. Our most recent building was 2023. Our new engineering building, some of you were there, $77 million investment for maintenance. Right? In those places. So we launched a housing demand study so that we'll know how many beds we'll need in the future so we can develop a plan for that. A campus master plan will be out in the fall, which is connected to our strategic plan and our vision. What is it that we need? Some of the buildings that need deferred maintenance. The truth of the matter is, if the bill to refurbish those buildings costs more than it would for us to build a new building, we might need to level the building and build a new one. Texas like new buildings. Deferred building, we have to use our own money for that. Even while it was a challenge, it was good for Prairie View because we were not spending as much money. And so we do have some reserves that we are investing in that deferred maintenance over the next few years. Student success continues to be an area of focus for us in a couple of ways. One, our curriculum, we make sure that today we are preparing students for the careers of the future. not just the careers of today, right? So we will make sure our curriculum is cutting edge, but also that we are enhancing programs that fill intellectual curiosity and a cultural need. I think about the fine arts, for example, right? So there may not be a strong market need for degrees in the fine arts, but it fulfills a cultural need, right? It fulfills a societal need. And we have individuals that we can recruit to Prairie View. And at one point, Prairie View had a really thriving fine arts program that we are definitely thinking about how do we invest in. Retention graduation, post-graduation employment rates is an important part, not just students getting the degree, but more importantly, that students leave with manageable debt, right? Student debt is one of the most crippling things that is existing right now for new graduates, and artificial intelligence is not going anywhere, right? And so it's going to be important that we integrate it into the fabric of our institutions and help us to expand our bandwidth to touch more people that we can't humanly touch, but also that we're teaching our students the current curriculum. A few other areas that we're focused on is maintaining our Research 2 status and possibly moving to Research 1. We're excited about that. That means that we have to focus on 2 areas. That means that we have to focus on increasing our research expenditures and our doctoral graduates. The other area of focus has to be athletics. I am not a novice to this. I realize I'm in Texas and football is king. And our competitiveness in all of our sports definitely matters for our students on the field, on the court, and off in the classrooms. But fan participation has to be an important part of it, and the funding for us to be competitive, right? Now, I get it, winning does help, but it's chicken and egg, right? One has to come before the other, and so we have to figure out how we invest in our athletics program. So they are currently working on their strategic plan as well. And the last area for attention is our external branding and relationships. We all know this, right? If you go to certain aspects of the world or the country, people may not know Prairie View as well. But when those who know us love us, right? They have high perceptions and understanding of us, and so we have to elevate that narrative. We have to sharpen that story and tell it boldly. I will tell you this, I tell folks, humility is a wonderful individual trait, but it is not a great one for an institution. But these were the 5 areas I gave the canvas without knowing much about the canvas where we needed to focus. And they align with the areas of need. But the last part of what we did during my first year is we spent a lot of time talking about our future and really thinking about that. So I'm gonna tell you where I believe we can go at Prairie View over the next 10 years. But it is grounded in the fact that we'll be celebrating our legacy as an institution while looking into our future. On all of these 4 factors that you see. We're the oldest public agency in the state of Texas. We're the second oldest institution in the state of Texas. We're a top producer of African Americans nationally in baccalaureate degrees, and we're a Research 2 institution. It's grounded in them, right? And all of those things are grounded in our mission, which is also being a land-grant institution, which means we are not an ivory tower on hill. Our focus is that we get into the community, right? And that we help create societal change. And so a cohesive 10-year plan will help us to do that. So we will actually roll out the plan in August, and I'm gonna give you a little precursor of where we're going. It is a 10-year plan. It's called PVAMU 2035 Journey to Eminence. The vision for this plan is on the screen. It is our vision that Prairie View will be a premier public research-intensive HBCU that serves as a national model for student success. So let's break that down and talk about what that means. Premier, top 20 HBCUs, top 10 public HBCUs. Premier, but in order to move those numbers, that means we gotta pay attention to the metrics the nation uses when they decide the best institutions, right? Research intensive, Prairie View is research intensive today. We're Research 2, but our goal is to move to Research 1. Now, there are no HBCUs today that are Research 1. In fact, of the 90 public Research 1 institutions, most of them are not diverse at all. Only about a third of them serve student populations that are ethnically minorities, that are low-income students or first-generation students. Only about a third. So when I think about what it means to be a research institution, because some of you in the audience have asked me, is Prairie View really the place? And I'll tell you my answer to that. What does it mean to be a research institution? Research is really about a commitment to a spirit of inquiry, discovery of new knowledge, challenging the status quo. And so if you think about some of society's greatest problems, the reason they exist because all the right people were not in the room to help craft solutions. So with that in mind, I think there's no greater place than Oregon, our faculty and our students to help grapple with society's greatest problems to provide some solutions. And then it assists our students to be competitive because not only are they consumers of that new knowledge, but many of them have helped those faculty. So that's why Prairie deserves to be a research-funded institution. And we won't do that at the sacrifice of teaching. We won't do that at the sacrifice of student success. That national model for student success, in my mind, means that the student population that Prairie View serves is the one that most of the nation will be serving in the next 10 years. More low-income students, more first-generation students, African-American students, Latino students. And if people are looking to how do you support those students and get them to the end goal, I want them to think Prairie. Call Prairie and figure out how to do that, right? So this is our vision of where we are going. I'll just tell you this little bit of information. On the left, you see the top HBCUs. This is the latest U.S. News and World Report. You see Prairie View is tied for number 24 with the University of District of Columbia. Top 15 publics, Prairie View is number 14. Again, tied with University of District of Columbia. So when I talk about premier, I want to see us in the top 10 of those publics. I really would like to see top 5, but I'm tempering a little bit, right? To know that we have work. But I share this with you for all of us to think about when we're trying to be honed in on what it is we're doing. This is not trying to just move up this ranking for ranking's sake. It is paying attention to the things that matter. What matter in these rankings are student success metrics, retention, graduation, alumni giving, investment in faculty, right? All of those things are what we will be focused on. And if we pay attention to the right things, over time, our rankings will also improve. All right, so our plan has 5 strategic goals. The first one is about investing in Prairie View's people and performance excellence. The second is about advancing teaching excellence and academic relevance. Student success and holistic development will be the center of everything we do. It holds everything together, driving strategic advancement of research. And the last one is about fostering our social responsibility of Prairie View and beyond. This is a precursor. These are our 5 goals for our new strategic plan. And I'm sure that when that plan rolls out in the fall, as the National Alumni Association begins to think about what your future agenda is, I hope it is in connection with this plan. Because I want to be clear, it's gonna take us about 10 years to achieve this vision, but we gotta be laser focused. We can't be divided. As we are thinking about how do we move the institution forward, and these are the narratives for those goals, as we move the institution forward, and the resources we need, state investment, institutional investment, system investment, federal, philanthropic gifts, we have to have one narrative. One. Because what happens when you don't have one narrative, people get confused. And they say, you don't even know what you want. And so we have to have one narrative. And so we can talk about the details of this. All of that will come out in August, but I'll share this with you now. What you should know about this plan is I'm a data person, I'm a chemist by training, so we will have lots of key performance indicators. This is just a draft, just so that you can see it. It's not necessary for you to digest here, but there are 18 key performance indicators here that we will be looking at. And they move from employee satisfaction to that ranking that we discussed, to the number of PhD programs we have, all of the factors about student success, research, and then how do we think about our social responsibility moving forward. Our strategic priorities really are focused on those 4 areas that you see. How do we get more space and better space, right? To serve the students, to serve the faculty and staff. How do we invest in the people? How do we invest in the academics and student success? this and then let the chancellor make his remarks because I should be nearing my time. I just want to share just a couple of things as far as priorities for next year with you, just so that you know. One of the things that stood out to me at our institution is that we have people who are passionate at Prairie View. They love our students, they love our institutions. And we have people at ends of the spectrum. We have people who've been there 50 years and people who've been there 5 months. And the newer people who come to the institution, average tenure has been about 3 to 4 years. Our compensation has been low. Right? So we have embarked on a compensation study. We've completed it for faculty. It is currently going on for staff. And when I talk to you about investing, I just showed this chart here because I showed it to the faculty and staff, I showed it to the board. If we meet our enrollment projections this fall, remember I told you money comes with the students, right? Off the top, we want to invest $5.7 million in the people. Those market salary adjustments we can make this year, we're going to make over a 2-year period. Those market salary adjustments we can make to raise people's salaries to higher levels of market, at least 50% this year and another 50% next year, we're going to do that. And then on top of that, those who are meritorious, where we need to reward performance, we're going to do that. Because it is the people who do the work, right? So I share this with you just so that you have a perspective of, we can't do everything, right? But we have to invest in the people along with these other things. And there will be, this is how we make strategic decisions, right? When you have a strategic plan, it helps you clearly identify where you need to focus and where you need to fund your resources. And so the only other thing I'll mention about priorities for next year is to fully deploy a new student success model. Our new student success model is built on a culture of care and responsiveness. This is the image for that. The foundation is guidance and advice that we talk to our students about. Data-informed decision-making. We know based upon the data how to help our students be successful. We just need to have the discipline to do it, and certain things just can't be optional, right? We got to make some things mandatory. I don't know about when you went to school, but I've had faculty who told me I had to do things, and because they said I had to do it, I thought it was the law. They were all in my business when I didn't want them to be, because they cared. We have to get that culture restored and elevated, right? Campus relationships and expanded network, through campus involvement, through mentors on campus, mentors with you, right? As alums, you can serve as a mentor to our students, and we need to get our students connected and health and well-being. All of this connects to our desire to help our students develop a greater level of self-efficacy, sense of belonging, and self-confidence. This model is not about coddling. So this fall, every undergraduate PV student will be assigned a care team. We call it PV Cares. They will receive a professional academic advisor, someone whose job it is to help them to plot out their 4-year plan, although we know it might take some 5 or 6. Plot out their 4-year plan, because you've got to have a plan. Have a financial counselor, not a financial aid counselor. We don't have financial aid counselors on our campus anymore. Financial aid is a mechanism to pay the bill. What we are trying to do is instill and develop financial literacy foundational principles in our students, and use this college-going experience as a method to help establish that financial literacy, right? Now that doesn't mean that Prairie View will always have all of the money as student needs. But what we do have is the ability to help the student think about budget and other resources to go and get money, and how not to get a $3,000 refund and spend it all in preparation for homecoming. Right? So that's financial counseling. The third is a career coach. Career coach. And that is to help students to explore the careers they don't even know exist. A third of our students come to Prairie View wanting to be a nurse. And then in their first semester, they say, well, I don't like blood and I don't like math. Well, nursing might not be for you. Right? But what you do want is to help people. And there are lots of careers for that, right? So that career coach, coupled with the academic advisor and financial counselor, is a student's team. Those are their 3 humans. They are assigned by school and college, and as long as the student keeps their major, they will keep their team. And that team together can connect students to any other resource they need, right? What that also does is take a burden off of the faculty that they have loved, but they are not experts at. So this allows us to give faculty back some time to do research, to elevate their teaching if need be, but then to be mentors and not academic advisors, right? And so in fall 25, every student will have a faculty mentor, and we're working for that. So I just give you that information just so that you have that context. The last thing I'll mention is we have launched a search for a new vice president for university advancement. It's a new division that we have created at Prairie View that will be alumni relations, marketing and communications, and the office of development. University advancement. 3 offices that are truly external to the institution, all about brand and relationship building and external stakeholders. We are searching for that new vice president. The National Alumni Association will be involved in interviewing 3 finalists that will come to campus, and so you all will be a part of that. And we are working with the university's foundation, Prairie View A&M Foundation, to redefine our relationship. The university needs a 501c3. And I have been pleased to work with the leadership of the foundation thus far to begin to reimagine what that relationship can look like for the strength of the institution. And so that's where we are. Last piece, I'll mention just other couple of bullet points I think you should know. Our legislative agenda this year is focused on research infrastructure. Our new School of Public and Allied Health was created on grant money, and so it's growing so quickly that we're going to ask the state to give us some investment above the appropriations formula to support that growth because it is fueling a need in the state. We need a building quickly to ensure that that program remains robust. And the last part of our legislative agenda is about building awareness for our 10-year plan, because over the next 3 bienniums, we'll be seeking additional support in different sectors, whether it's federal, state, philanthropic, to support that 10-year plan. But we want to begin to socialize that plan, our vision that we just talked about with you, with our legislators this year. We are planning a PV Day at the Texas Capitol. I'm going to put Ms. Jackson on the spot. When's the last time PV had a day at the Capitol? Remember? When? 2016. So the last time PV had a day at the Capitol was in 2016, right? It's time, right? And a PV Day at the Capitol is going to be February 18th. And our goal is to have 75 to 100 students, alumni, faculty, and staff join us at the Capitol to share great information about PV. There will be an opportunity for folks to sign up, but there's also going to be a training. And you can't get on the bus if you don't want to drink. Because we got to be clear about what that's going to say, right? You can't get in there talking about something that's not on the script. I will tell you, our representatives in my area, Stan Kitzman and Lois Colkhurst, are great supporters of Prairie View and are trying to figure out how they can help. And so we are partnering with their offices, so we'll be recognized on the floor of the Senate and the House that day. So it's going to be a good day for our institution. And so we are eagerly, aggressively planning now. And the last thing I want to just plan in your mind is that we will begin planning for our 150th year sesquicentennial anniversary. 150 years in 2026, right? And it will be a year of celebration. So I share all of this with you just to lay the foundation. There were some questions that were submitted. I'm eager to address the questions. And even once we get to a few of those, if there are a few audience questions about anything that I presented, we can talk about that as well. But I hope you, at least now, leave with a little more information than you can about where your president sees Prairie View today, but more importantly, where I see the future of our institution. Our future is bright. This is my favorite picture for Prairie View. I found this picture working with Phyllis Earls in the archives, who's been at Prairie View 40 years. And this is a picture of the class of 1913. We all know it's not that. But 1913, you look at the number of women in this class too. In 1913, Prairie View has been a trailblazer in education for a long time. But the point I want to drive home is, now it just took me 30 minutes to go through a very high level. I skipped some things, right? When I talk to the campus, they look at me like, Lorraine, will you ever slow down? That's the challenge with having a younger president. I have an engine. But more importantly, when I look at these faces in 1913, could they have imagined that their university would be a top producer of African Americans in this country, that it would have a chapter in the Bahamas? Could they imagine? Well, we also need to know that if we truly want to be our ancestors' wildest dreams, that we have to break free from things that sometimes we say are tradition, but really are just the way we've always done it. Right? We need new thinking. We need to inspire people. We need to come together to connect on one vision. And these people will forever be proud of their institution, just like I hope we do. Chancellor John Sharp to give his remarks. And then after Chancellor Sharp comes up, we'll invite Phyllis Darnatala up for our conversation.
Well, it's good to be back up here, especially after the meeting kicked my ass off the And who was it that had the brilliant idea to make me speak after that? I mean, I feel like Elizabeth Taylor's seventh husband on the trying to figure out how to make this exciting. Anyway, I told some of you last night, I know a bunch of you came here within the last evening and missed some of the deal last night, but I wanted to make sure that kind of knew my history with Prairie View. Met when I was in student government at A&M, met a bunch of guys and gals at Prairie View, and they were really struggling with that time. I mean, the board regions obviously wasn't in place, dormitories were mess and things like that. And so when I got in the legislature, I remember Wilhelmina Delco, and by the way, you're a hero in the legislature right now. The go-to guy that we go to, that Speaky go to, that Ruth went to, that everybody went to, said right here. And he can be real mean sometimes. But when I interviewed for this job, as I told you last night, they asked me to, what do you want to do? And at the time, I really wasn't thinking about being chancellor. Just get a call and say, hey, you want to be chancellor? I really didn't know anything about it. So I wasn't sure how to spell it. And I said two things. I said, I want to go to law school for Texas A&M, and I want to put some emphasis on Prairie View A&M. Those two things. That's all we talked about in the interview, in the hiring. And so the first thing that we did is, because of Wilhelmina Delco and Craig Washington and folks back in that day, Prairie View is the only one in the system, other than A&M, they just both the Permanent University Fund and the Auxiliary University Fund, which is community. But it always allowed Texas A&M Board of Regents to set how much. I mean, it could have been $1, could have been anything. And they said it in what, in my opinion, for a historical period of time, was too low. So the first thing we did was increase that formula. So since 2011, Prairie View share of Beverly University Fund, as Tamika said, has increased 160% from 12.1 million to about 40 million now. That's $1,384 per student in 2011 to $3,588 per student today, which is $1,133 more than what an A&M student gets in that second round. The Prairie View University's share of the state appropriations A&M system has increased from 12% to 16.4%. Now, when you look at the federal publications on state appropriations to Prairie View versus Texas A&M, for instance, it will have Texas A&M in a higher number, but that's a misleading number because of this. A&M has a bunch of agencies. They have the Texas Division of Emergency Management. So they count the $2 billion that goes into Texas Division of Emergency Management. They count the hundreds of millions of dollars in buildings for that. These are the folks that are supposed to take care of the hurricanes and make sure the power don't go down. And all these kinds of things. But that has nothing to do with students. But the feds count that in there. If you take those agencies out, and you take those things that really don't have anything to do with educating students or research and things like that, Prairie View has a higher number of state appropriations per student than A&M has. I want to talk a little bit about construction. So there have been over $400 million in construction projects in Prairie View over the last 13 years. I want to list them. One of them is the $31.4 million student recreation center, $38 million for the ag and multi-purpose classroom building, $63 million for the football stadium. Now that was an interesting deal. So the football stadium, we couldn't figure out how in the world to do financing on the thing, because the financing wouldn't work just using one university. And so we backstopped that with the system, and that allowed that beautiful stadium to be built over there. And most of it we think is legal. We insure it. There's about $17.1 million in the fabrication center, $20 million in capital improvements, $15.3 million in energy consumption, $6 million for the agriculture comprehensive facility. That doesn't count the random engineering building. One of the things that I really like is when at homecoming and places like that, you have somebody, let's say from the Bahamas, that hadn't been to Prairie View in 15 years or so, and the eyes just pop out. It is the most beautiful campus I have in my system. For 2025, fire alarm system, which is connected to the elevators, is messed up. We're about to fix that with $11 million, and then we've got about $45 million in teaching and academic student supports facility that we're going to build. One thing people don't know is the very first home of public-private partnerships in all of higher education in the state of Texas was Prairie View, a partnership with ACC, which was the folks that built the dorms privately, allowed students to live there, pay rent, and after a certain period of time, Prairie View owns those particular dorms. And so that was one of the first. Now we're into the 10th phase of student housing. We have a problem at Prairie View that we wish every one of our students, our universities had, and that is, you've got so many kids coming there, you got room for them. And so we're trying to figure that out. There's a guy in this room that allows us to rent some of his private facilities, but we're going to have to build and build fast and new student housing to meet the most urgent. So we built about $177 million in student housing, but that doesn't count Houston Medical Center. If you recall, we had 500 nursing students at the Houston Medical Center that were living in places that they weren't safe. I mean, there were parts of town that weren't safe for them. And so we have now completed, as you'll see in Houston when you go down that street, brand new high rise, and that's where this. And it's right across the street from their school. Because of Royce and some others, we were able last session to get the full ag match finally. We are trying this next session to increase that to 25 million, but it's now 15 million. And that's a one-for-one deal. So I don't know what the problem is here. You get 15 million, you get another 15 million from the Fed. You increase it to 25 million, you get another 25 million from the Fed. Somebody in the legislature got a problem with the damn free money. I suspect Royce and our government relations team might be pretty successful at increasing that in the next session of the legislature. So that's a total of Ag Match and Prairie View. We also expanded, we started something called Healthy South Texas some time back. And basically what that was is there's lots of folks in South Texas that don't have primary care physicians. And so we use the extension service, just as Prairie View has an extension service, we use the extension service at A&M to go in and say, hey, here's how you take care of your unborn baby. I mean, we had at the McAllen Civic Center, we put some ads in the paper saying, hey, if you're pregnant, show up at this place and we'll spend all day telling you how much to eat and how to take care of those babies. 7,000 pregnant women showed up that morning. I didn't know it was possible to have that many pregnant women. And it worked so well that we expanded that into Healthy Houston. And so in Hagerstown, Third Ward, those places where a lot of people don't see a doctor unless they go into emergency room or something like that. They have all that, and all of that is provided by Prairie View and the Extension Service of Prairie View. And that's why the Ag Match becomes important, because that goes to the Extension Service. And that allows the Extension Service to expand to 150 counties, including Harris County, and do the kinds of things that we're talking about. So the federal funding is now about 16.2 million for that deal. So also in the legislature, and Royce was key to this, we were able to one of the things that was happening is we were getting it's a good program that was giving free tuition to kids whose parents were in the military, but the state was making Prairie View pay for it. And so that changed in the last session of the legislature and got an additional $10.5 million and another $3.2 million of funds to reimburse Prairie View for the free tuition that they were given to those folks. The same thing happened with an affordability deal. The same thing happened in group insurance. And we got the state to pick up another $1.7 million for group insurance in the last session of the legislature. Again, one of the reasons you're sitting out there not paying attention to my damn speech. Prairie View is also going to receive an additional $2.8 million for comprehensive regional university funding, which was a new deal we put in the last session of the legislature. Received significantly more pandemic-related federal funding for institutions similar size. For instance, in pandemic-related federal funding, we're able to get $204 million for Prairie View. UT Tyler is about the same size, $31.5 million. University of Houston Clear Lake, $34.4 million. Prairie View got $204 million. So that's what we look at. And one of the things that's happened is that Prairie View all of a sudden has become well into the top 10, I think maybe top 5 in research for HBCUs. So we're at $105 million. Now that research number is a harbinger of what's coming, because those research numbers are what attracts those big time professors that are researchers that are going, hey, that's the place that pays attention to research, that's where we're going to go. And And those are national academy members. Those are the kind of folks that really elevate the numbers. But research is the canary in the coal mine. When that starts going up, everything else tends to follow. So here's Prairie View, ours is 105 million. One of the things that happened is that Prairie View is the only HBCU in the history of the United States ever to get an energy department infrastructure center. And what happened was Prairie View teamed up with TTI, which is an A&M System State Agency, Texas A&M Transportation Institute. And those two went to the energy department to do it. And so that infrastructure center that is now located at Prairie View tells A&M what to do. This is their partners. They're partners in this deal, and Prairie View is the boss, by the way. The partners in this deal are, let's see, Michigan State. I have it written down here somewhere. Michigan State, Rutgers, Texas A&M Transportation Institute, and some others. Oh, here it is. Rutgers, Michigan State, Arizona State, and Glenn College are all in this consortium, but they all take their orders from Jude Perkins and from Melissa Tooley and all those folks that are at Prairie View. And that is going to do nothing but grow and grow and grow before it's over with. And so when people ask me, I don't care where they are, what I'm proudest of is when I see that law school and when I walk onto the Prairie View campus.
I get to medical school.
Somebody that hadn't been there in a long time, their eyes popping out of their damn head because they don't even recognize the campus because it's so beautiful. And I want y'all to make sure that I'll do everything I can to make sure that the new food that follows me stay intact and money keep going to be here once over here, but legislation doesn't appropriate, we're going to use a permanent. I'm going to shut up and answer questions. And my man James Hallmark, who is the Vice Chancellor for academic affairs, come up here. The reason he's coming up here is because he didn't have a damn thing to do. And they sit way out on the beach like a beach whale. And so I think he needs to bring his feet.
All right, Renita, I'm sorry, but I'm changing it a little bit. First of all, thank you, Dr. LeGrand, Chancellor Sharp, and Mr. Hallmark for joining us today. Changing this because I think there are about 1,876 questions here. These questions came in from our alum, as well as some others. And some of them are directly to Chancellor Sharp and some to Dr. LeGrand, but we're going to pretty much allow the panel to answer the questions. So the first question is from Frederick Roberts. You know what to expect, they're already laughing. In 1997, the Texas legislature approved the establishment of the Center for Study and Prevention of Juvenile Delinquency and Crime Prevention at Prairie View A&M University, and approved the funding mechanism for the venture. And also applaud Senator Royce West because he was responsible for that. Sorry. question is, when will the establishment of juvenile crime prevention research centers in each county begin across Texas?
So I'll take the question. So I just want to make sure that you all heard Phyllis when she talked about the question that the Crime Prevention Center at Prairie View was established in 1997 through a legislative effort led by Senator Royce West. I didn't think the applause was sufficient enough, so that's why I'm reiterating. Anytime we have a legislature get behind a specialty area of the institution is a very important part of the work that we do. So, you know, in talking with, we have a new dean of our School of Juvenile Justice. And in talking to him and the team, you know, just around this, one of the things that we decided is that Texas is so large that we had to divide it into regions. And so they've divided the state into 7 regions, and it is their goal that by 2027, that they will be actively in all 7 regions. Now, the goal for the Crime Prevention Center is not just about the study, right, of crime taking place and reporting that. It is about developing strategies and mechanisms to lessen and prevent the disproportionate efforts for juveniles, right? And so how do you get to crime prevention? You have to develop strategies for youth to be engaged in different ways. You also have to work with schools so that they are not identifying different behaviors and making them criminal, right? And so that work for juvenile justice is ongoing. We do have some work to do with the legislature that bill that established the Crime Prevention Center and the funding mechanism. So fees are paid for crimes in the state of Texas. Our Crime Prevention Center gets a percentage of that fee. That's what, it goes into the bank. But right now we gotta work with the state to get access to more of the bank so that we can expand our work. But we believe we'll be able to do that and then be able to expand that center into all 7 regions of the state.
Thank you. The next question comes from our co-chair, Ms. Renita Harris. What does the system plan to do with the land on the corner of 290 and the university? Yes, sir.
So the question is, the question specifically is, what does the system plan to do with the 50 acres we have on the corner of 290 and university?
We have our maps to determine whether or not we can let it right there would be significant development that would help the community, would help as similar to Century Square.
So that's when I can do so that so we intend things. So if you're not sure 290 toward Austin, our right fastest growing county in the state of Texas. Greater Houston is coming down 290, right? So this is what the chancellor's whatever. This is what I want to play. We've outgrown the baby doll. It's a beautiful facility, but we've outgrown it. We're having 3 commencements, we graduate until students. There is a lot of opportunity for Prairie View to get into economic development, not just being a consumer, right? So we need something that is going to help us to produce some revenue. A need in Northwest Houston, there is no place that any entity could hold a significant major conference. I want to do it for you. So we want a developer, the RFI that will go out, we'll talk to developers about mixed use space that includes a conference and event center, a brand name hotel, student and apartment housing, and retail and restaurant space. Now, you know, that's a multi-year situation, right? But we are looking the follow-up questions to that was, You know, we have alums that are active engaged, we produce a lot of engineers and architects, and you're interested in art, guys, open. And we encourage anyone interested, area, of course, that we're, right, because it's a partnership. And so those will be the components. So I would also encourage you when that RFI comes out, whether you as an alum into the future of Prairie View, because and put space there. One of the fastest growing counties in Prairie View, in the state of Texas. And so we believe it will be an attractive asset to our institution, to the city of Prairie View, to the county of Walton, to the Northwest Partners.
I'll add to that, also from a perspective of student affairs, active faculty, students. One of the, I'm Vice Chancellor for academic affairs, is my space at Prairie View for a long time in this job, for 12 years, is nothing to do with Prairie View. And that becomes a challenge for those retention numbers that Dr. Moran was talking about. It's a challenge in terms of attracting more students out there. When I went to college, we went to school, and we pretty much stayed there. We didn't have cars, et cetera, and that made it easy for some of you as well. But the students
When I went to Prairie, we didn't have cars, we stayed on campus.
want to be able to engage in the community. And so that community development part that Dr. Moran talked about is essential for the longer term goals that you're looking at in the institution.
And also, as you're coming from Houston, on the road before you do it, you'll see some construction that's happening on the side of the road. And that's to me, the GAS, we started, with the power department said, on the other side, it has Prairie View University, the power department coming from the north, put a sign up there. But we decided we're gonna build our own sign. So I gave her, this is gonna be, reason she calls it PAS, it's a big ass sign. It is gonna be, you ain't gonna miss Prairie View. Half of us don't know that university is over there. By the time the sign is built, they're gonna know where they are.
Just so you all know, I call it landmarks.
There are several questions, but I'm going to combine it all into one. It has to do with the performing arts program at Prairie View. And the question is, what are the expectations from the system, from the university? What are the plans for performance arts center?
So, you know, I think about, just to give some context to the question, because I think, you know, the question also kind of details some differences between the investment in performing arts at A&M versus at Prairie View. So, you know, just so folks have some context to my thoughts. You know, just as I've learned about the institution over the last year, I have met alum who are part of the
Charles Gilpin.
I keep trying to make sure I get it right. Gilpin players. Our choir is quite phenomenal. The marching band, I believe, is the best in the country. But Hobart Taylor is a big building that has about $20 million for maintenance. It's not big enough. We had to, when the next time you come on campus, you'll see a new kind of temporary facility. It's a semi-permanent tent, if you will. Cost us $2 million to quickly build something to support the band. Because they are so large, they can't practice in the band room without damaging their hearing. So that's one aspect. The second is, I think our institution has ebbed and flowed over time with the levels of excellence in signature programs, right? And that happens everywhere. So what we have to figure out is, what is our standard of excellence for our performing arts is going to be? While we are strong in STEM as an institution, Prairie View has had a significant and strong history in the performing arts. And how do we restore and elevate that? That's a part of the strategic plan. So one of the things that we will be doing is every school and college this fall, once the university strategic plan rolls out, they will be doing their academic plans to identify the needs, support, the resources, and the places they will focus. I think the other place is for us as an institution is to elevate our stronger connection with the cultural arts in the greater Houston area and in the state of Texas. There is question about with our campus master plan, should Prairie View have a museum on campus? Right? I think so, right? Where it is and all those things. So the goal is that we will have an investment in the performing arts. It is connected to the strategic plan. And the school and college will also have their plan connected to it. And so it will be a part of that 10-year. But we can't do everything, right? And so right now we have theater, music, art, theater, and so, and fine arts. And so we probably won't add to that, but just double down and invest on what we have. The other part is modernizing, right, the performing arts. How do we integrate digital into that? Work as well is another aspect of that. I think that's the difference, what I can tell right now from some of the investments that A&M has been able to make in their performing arts is how do you ensure that the curriculum is cutting edge and the facilities are cutting edge? And that comes along with the plan, right? We can't just be haphazard doing one thing here, one thing there. If it's a part of the plan, then everyone can see what we're striving for and know how to invest. And that's our goal with this 10-year plan.
Because
He went to this one.
And you mentioned outstanding band choir program. That's similar to A&M. A&M is not the premier performing arts program in the so let's make sure you choose. We have better performing arts programs in West Texas than in Kingsville. There's some outstanding performing arts programs sprinkled around the system. But that's an institution choice. The institution, as you mentioned, the institution chooses to invest in STEM and chooses through strategic planning. And so when or if the institution chooses to double down and use that in those specific areas, that's when it comes to the system for us to take a look at and see how we might be able to assist, connect, fund, and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, the important point to remember, we don't dictate to our president, we trust our president. What we do is when the president says, I want this, we figure out a way to get that and build that to make it happen. But we don't tell our, oh, you're gonna have to follow that, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have that. That's the decision making for you.
thank you for clarifying that as well. And you did answer one of the follow-ups, and these questions came from Ms. Romina Thompson. But the other follow-up question she had was, how does the system plan to be competitive in performing arts with UT, for instance?
You're looking at me for it. Actually, I come from the performing arts background, so I actually that's part of
So
it.
you qualify that?
They talk about it, how they get competitive, that's everything else.
There you go, that's a good answer. UT decided decades ago to make that a central part of what they were doing in that institution, and they do a very good job. And when or if an institution, the A&M system says, I want that to be a central part, then what we do is try to connect and fund and assist to allow that to occur. The example that I would provide is it's not specific to performing arts, because frankly, it's not active performing arts right now. But in education programs or nursing programs, et cetera, those deans, those leaders in the A&M system get together regularly. In fact, your arts and sciences dean had been leading, I don't know if she's on her, she's in transition to another role, but she's been leading the liberal arts teams for the last year or maybe perhaps two, Dr. Gilbert, across the system and trying to figure out how we can do a better job of working together to meet the goals of that program. And we would do the same thing.
Thank you. The next question comes from John Osby, who said, during his many visits to campus this past winter, he was surprised at the issues around our buildings, heat, leaking roofs, et cetera. What he wants to know is where can we tap into system funds to replace or reduce the mechanical failures of our critical campus infrastructure?
That's AUF money, that's what you can use for that. AUF money is unrestricted, it can be used for a lot of different things. We also go to the legislature and ask for money for deferred maintenance. For instance, Kingsville, in the last session of the legislature, didn't ask for a new building. They asked for $30 million to do nothing but deferred maintenance and go in and fix some of the buildings and things like that. Deferred maintenance, I would say 10 years ago, was astronomical, but those old buildings have been torn down and replaced with new buildings, which is certainly one way that you get to where you want to go. AUF money can be used for that. But we also reserve the right to go to the legislature and ask for money just for deferred maintenance that the president can use to fix those problems.
I would also say that there is an opportunity for us to use some of our own reserves for some of this, right? So some of it we're working on now. But the truth is, campus master plan will help us with this. Because right now, what I find is as an institution, we're responding to fires. Heat goes out in this building, and we patch it enough for it to work to move on with something else. And the campus master plan requires that you kind of prioritize. And so, yeah, you might patchwork a few things, but there's 1 or 2 projects every year you take on wholeheartedly to fix them. And once you elevate a plan to a level of transparency, there is a visual accountability for leadership to deliver. The plan is clear. It has to be that shared accountability, right? And that's where I see as an institution, we have an opportunity to grow and improve. So it takes far too long to get things resolved on our campus. Some of that, we have a third-party contractor. Some of that is the third-party contractor that the chancellor has told us that we don't have to use if we don't want to. And so we're moving through that. But some of it also might be our processes of how quickly we move through some things as well. So resources is definitely a part of it. But the other part is the organization around how you deliberately move through getting things done. Because even if we have all the resources, we gotta get it done. And that's the next part, we have to make sure that we're.
So I like to put storage for my stuff at the top of the list.
You can't use this platform for yourself.
Well, one of the things that is a problem is Wi-Fi sometimes is unreliable. And so we've been able to go in with certain equipment, called horses and try to mitigate that. But the real answer to that is AT&T needs to build a tower there. And so that, and they will eventually, as Houston, moves there, but we need them to move eventually a little bit sooner.
Well, the last report I heard, Chancellor, is because we went to the system and asked, particularly the wireless on our campus, this is a place where the A&M system has more prowess than Prairie View to influence these providers. And so we have identified 3 possible locations where a new tower can be built on our campus, about 1,400 acres, build a tower on our campus, just in a corner, so it doesn't do anything. We've identified 3 locations. It does still take about 18 to 24 months for them to do all of the work associated with it, but we are closer to having stronger Wi-Fi service, and that has been a partnership between our areas to bring these cell phone providers out. So they're doing some temporary things with cows, not horses. I call them cellular on wheels. The network service should have been better during homecoming, but we have to get much better because thank goodness we never had a crisis in that moment where people can't dial out. So we got to elevate that quickly. So it's a high priority for us.
Thank you. John follows up with another question, and that involves the campus and the allowance of students to dine in because dining facility is not very large, and also the students are standing 30, 40, 50 minutes in line to receive their meals. And so he wants to know, if not in the current budget, can we receive funding to expand cafeteria services across the campus?
Did you get the question? I'll answer.
I know that it's part of what you were working on, so I would suggest.
So, a couple of things with dining services. How many of you have students that are currently at Prairie View? Any? So, last year, we had, a 6% enrollment increase. Prairie View only houses about 4,200 of our students. But there are many students who come and take classes at Prairie View who get a meal plan because there's nowhere else to eat out there but on campus. And so we saw a strain in our dining facilities. I will tell you, I've worked on a lot of university campuses. Our dining facility was small prior to last year. It only accommodates about 500. Right? We house 3,200. Right? So, and then we have a smaller dining space in the back. It's called Farrell Hall, design things, we like the old laundry
Yes.
area. And it's smaller. It holds about 120. So what I said to the food service company that we have is two things. We have 100 buildings on this campus, and I need y'all to scour every space to put cafes in those buildings. So for example, if you go to the back side of our campus, our engineering complex that we call it, we have 6 engineering buildings. And if a student is back there engrossed in coursework and research, and then has to run up to the front of the campus to get a hot dog, that's problematic, right? And so we're looking right now, while we are also doing our housing demand study, because a part of that will also include the dining options, right? So we need more space, but there is an opportunity for us to use some existing space to build some cafes. The other thing that I encourage the dining service folks to think about is in Houston, outside of hurricane season, the weather is pretty decent at least 10 months out of the year. And food trucks are all the rage, right? So get some food trucks out here. We pay them, let the students use their dining dollars. That's our problem to figure out. But get the folks out here. So now we have food trucks on campus, right? So there are pretty creative ways to address some of these issues. We also need more healthy options for students because the line for Chick-fil-A is ridiculous. It looks and we need them to eat some vegetables, but that's neither here nor there. But we need more facilities. We have a Dunkin' Donuts in the library, for example, right? So we're expanding the dining facilities. But we also need to partner with the city of Prairie View. We need more dining options in the community because there are new housing developments near us, and as we're recruiting faculty and staff, we're encouraging them to stay in the community. And when we have faculty and staff on campus, they drive it all the way to Cypress to go eat lunch. And then they back late from their lunch break. So it is a challenge for the students, but it's also a challenge for the area. The only other thing I would say is that I've been surprised in this last year is we don't have a lot of gathering space for our students. So if you go in the MSC, the Memorial Student Union, which is normally a student place, it is more event space than it is a student union. The second floor is the ballrooms. The third floor are offices. And so you got the bookstore and the cafeteria. There really isn't a lot of space for students to hang out. We have to fix that. Either we need to build an annex to the union, we need to build a bigger union, we need to find spaces in academic departments where students can lounge. When I was in college, we were always in the building where we studied, and you met faculty walking by. So we gotta create some more community spaces. That's what creates the sense of belonging, right, and connection, so that students then stay at the institution. So I answered more than your question, but it all goes together.
So it's interesting that you said that, because in my day, the Memorial Student Center was that. It was a community space. There were chairs, there were benches, it was all through that. So it's interesting that you do say that. The next few questions are coming from Jeremiah Simmons, and two of them. What do you believe that the university can improve on, and what is your definition of institution?
Top 10 reviews, whatever that is. I think every university can improve on a lot of things. I think Tamika has a lot of emphasis on research and